The senior official, the head referee, a very important and prestigious title to hold for those who lay down the law in professional wrestling. Although, as honorable as this title might be, it's really weird that there isn't a whole lot of information about it. Which is why I say it's time we change all that. Because today, a big thank you to all of my wonderful Patreon supporters such as Inigo Montoya, Dakari Garment, and Rodney Harris. Thank all of you for the support, as it really does mean a lot. Alright, before we get into the list of the who's who of senior officials, first let's go over a few details about this position. So for starters, I'm going to begin with making this clarification. Yes, there is a difference between a referee and an official. But what makes all this hard to talk about is not only is there a lack of documentation, but also remember that this is a world of kayfabe, and trying to figure out what's for real and what's a work is kinda hard to do. Okay, so now with that being said, let's get into the difference between official and referee. Technically speaking, a referee is the one who lays down the law for a contest, where an official is someone who referees but also holds an office. So for example, John Cone would be an official because not only does he referee, but he has also worked as senior management of talent relations for WWE. Traditionally, this has to do with someone being an office holder being part of the organization that does make the rules, where a referee is just merely someone who enforces them. But again, in the world of kayfabe, it just seems like these two terms are used interchangeably. Okay, so now that we established the difference between official and referee and how in wrestling it probably doesn't really matter, what exactly is the distinction between a regular referee and the head referee, or the senior official? Well, the honor of senior official really seems to normally go to someone who's the most tenured man on staff, although that doesn't always seem to be the case. And again, what it's supposed to mean, even though in the world of kayfabe it might not hold up, but the role of the senior official is supposed to be someone that gets to referee the most high-profile bouts. But one of the reasons why they may not is because maybe the main event involves a serious ref bump, and since the senior official tends to be older, you might want someone who is a little more spry taking the hit. In addition, a senior official also serves as a leader for the rest of the referee team. Okay, so now that we cleared that up, let's get into who the senior officials are for WWE. Oh, but even though we are primarily focusing on the House of McMahon, that doesn't mean we're going to be completely ignoring other companies, because we're not. Alright, so with all that being said, let's just get into it. Earl Hebner began his referee career in 1977, where he would ref matches for Jim Crockett Promotions. He even has the honor of being the referee for the first ever War Games match in 1987, although most fans would know him for his run in the WWF, where he would make his debut on February 5th, 1988 on NBC's The Main Event, infamously costing Hulk Hogan the title as the evil twin of his real-life brother Dave, who in kayfabe was the designated official for the match. However, Earl would take a payoff from Ted DiBiase, where he would take the place of his brother Dave in order to screw Hulk Hogan out of the title. Following this though, and Dave would have to retire from referee duties and take a backstage role. This effectively ended the rivalry between the two brothers, and Earl instead was given a chance to redeem himself. He would then become babyface, as well as being the first senior official for WWF. Now, the senior referee position seems to have been created for him, as there doesn't appear to be anyone who has held the title before him in 1988. Furthermore, not only was he the first senior referee for WWF, but he would also get to go against the first and only senior official for WCW, Nick Patrick, during the Invasion pay-per-view. From there, the position would be split, as WWE would initiate the brand extension, with Raw and SmackDown becoming two separate brands. And with that, Mike Kyoto would become SmackDown's head referee from 2002 to 2003, while Hebner would become the senior official for Raw from 2002 to 2005. However, from there he would be released from the company. But don't worry, because he would find himself in TNA, where he would eventually take over the head referee position from Rudy Charles, who himself was TNA's senior official from 2002 to 2009, after picking up the role from Scott Armstrong. Hebner would then abdicate his role in Impact Wrestling in 2017, and the company has yet to name a replacement. In addition, Hebner was also inducted into the Impact Hall of Fame, as well as getting to referee the Cody Rhodes vs. Nick Aldis match for the NWA 70th anniversary show. And currently, you could find him as part of the team refereeing for All Elite Wrestling. And yes, of course, he was also involved in the Montreal Screwjob. Oh, and not only that, but Earl's son Brian would also get into the referee game himself. Mike Kyoto lived next to Gorilla Monsoon, who helped him break into the industry. After training as a referee, he began appearing in the WWF in 1989. From there, he would officiate some pretty famous matches, including the upset victory from the 1-2-3 Kid over Razor Ramon, Hollywood Hogan vs. The Rock at WrestleMania 18, and he was also the officiant for Stone Cold Steve Austin's first title win, even though ultimately it was Mike Tyson who would make the count. Oh, and let's not forget that Kyoto has also wrestled himself, getting the team with Chris Jericho and The Rock to take on the Dudley Boys and Nick Patrick, where Kyoto would get to drop a people's elbow of his own. Now, going back to Kyoto as a senior referee, after being given the position on SmackDown very briefly, he was drafted to Raw in 2003. Then, following Earl Hebner's departure from the company, Mike Kyoto would be named the new senior official for Monday Night Raw. And from there, the position of head referee for both Raw and SmackDown would be merged back together yet again, with Mike Kyoto serving as senior referee for both shows. This would begin starting in 2008. However, this would only last to 2016, where the position would be split yet again with the new brand extension. And one more time, Mike Kyoto would find himself as a head referee for SmackDown in 2016, all the way until his release in 2020. But Mike Kyoto fans fear not, because what should serve as no surprise, he too would wind up in AEW. And in case you were wondering, Paul Turner is listed as the senior official for All Elite Wrestling. Nick Patrick is the son of the Assassin, and originally wanted to be a professional wrestler himself. However, due to knee issues, he was unable to do so. So instead, he would take up refereeing in 1980 for Georgia Championship Wrestling before moving to Jim Crockett Promotions. He would stay on as the company became WCW, where he would be named the senior referee. However, from there, he would eventually become a corrupt official, siding with the NWO, even being involved in the controversial finish of Starrcade in 1997. But then, after purchase of WCW, Nick Patrick would be signed on to WWE right away, and he would become the head referee for SmackDown after Kyoto in 2003. He would maintain this position until 2007. Mickey Henson would begin as a referee in 1987 for the promotion Championship Wrestling from Florida. He would then move on to Jim Crockett Promotions, which would eventually become WCW. From there, he would get to officiate such matches as the main event of Starrcade 1998, which saw Kevin Nash ending Goldberg's streak. However, after WWE purchased World Championship Wrestling, Mickey Henson wouldn't be brought on board. That is, until 2005, where he would officially join WWE. But of course, Mickey Henson would also get to have time as a senior referee himself. After Nick Patrick relinquished his role as SmackDown senior official in 2007, the duties would be picked up by Mickey Henson, who was previously the head referee for WWE's version of ECW starting in 2006 until he arrived on SmackDown. Nick Patrick would return to referee very rarely from here on out, as he was forced to retire due to back injuries, although he does still make occasional appearances. Scott Armstrong is a member of the legendary Armstrong family, and started out as a wrestler beginning in 1983. He would wrestle for WCW as well as Smoky Mountain Wrestling. However, in 2000, he would transition to becoming a referee, and after the purchase of WCW, he would continue his officiating duties for TNA before eventually moving to WWE. Then, unfortunately, in 2008, Mickey Henson, just like Nick Patrick, would also end up having to retire due to health issues. He would be replaced very temporarily by Scott Armstrong, who also ended up taking over his duties in WWE's ECW. But of course, in 2008, as we already mentioned, the brands would re-merge, thus vacating Scott Armstrong from the position. Scott would be furloughed in 2020, but would make his return in October of that same year. Charles Robinson grew up as a big fan of the NWA and Ric Flair. He also studied the mannerisms of referee Tommy Young. However, his career in the industry would begin in 1995 as a photographer for the Pro Wrestling Federation. But soon thereafter, he would be used as a special guest referee before being brought on as a full-time official. Then in 1997, Robinson would get a tryout for WCW, where he would referee a dark match between Chris Adams and Kendall Williams. And then just a few weeks later, and he would be signed to contract. contract. Eventually, Robinson's fandom of Ric Flair would be used as part of a storyline where he would become Little Nate. This would eventually lead to him getting some ring time, but unfortunately, he would suffer a bad elbow drop from Macho Man Randy Savage, which would collapse his lung and damage his vertebrae. But you just can't keep a good referee down, as after surgery, he would eventually return to WCW. Then, after the purchase by WWE, Robinson would be hired right away. And as of this recording, he's the senior official over on SmackDown, having taken over the responsibilities from Mike Kyoto. Meanwhile, on the Raw side of the equation, the current senior official is Chad Patton, who's had the role ever since at least 2018, where he specifically mentioned via Twitter that he is indeed the head referee for the Red brand. How long he's had this role for has yet to be officially determined, but it does seem like he's been the head referee on Raw ever since the brand split again in 2016. And in just another side note, currently, as of this recording, Daryl Sharma is the head referee over on NXT. He was preceded by Jason Ayers. And just in case you were wondering, the NWA senior official was Tommy Young, and for New Japan Pro Wrestling, not surprisingly, it's currently Red Shoes. Well, there you go, a breakdown of the senior official position in WWE, but who's your favorite referee? Let me know down in the comments, and please make sure you give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, Dave knows.